Goodness comes and evil goes. Kimunga Ukumbozi, Kimunga Ukumbozi, Kimunga Ukumbozi, divine liberty, divine liberation, divine freedom, and all that will bring for African people wherever we happen to be on the face of this earth. Karibu and welcome. My name is Kwende, and today we're going to be discussing the very important subject of living African spiritual and cultural observance. Living African spiritual cultural observance. Now let us begin then with this subject by looking at the important area of time, because time is key, but there are more than one ways to look or experience what time is all about. So in our day-to-day and mundane lives, what we might consider to be the norm, we'll measure time, we'll account for time in terms of hours, minutes, days, and so on. And rightly so, they are useful measures. And we recognize them by way of devices, so clocks, watches, that sort of thing. But for African souls on a more deep and profound level, beyond the aesthetic of the mundane, there is deeper time. There is time that goes beyond the operational levels of minutes and hours, and has a profound significance to African life. So for illustration, let us consider the agricultural cycles that might take place, say, on a farm, where necessarily what happens on the farm in agricultural terms, the growing of crops and so on, is informed by the cosmic cycles that give us the seasons of the year. So there'll be a time to plant seeds. There'll be a time to plow the soil. There'll be time to harvest that soil. And the times in between that allow that produce, that crop, to be nurtured, cultured, and grow. And for African people, there is a body of time, if you will, that allows African people to cultivate themselves, to nurture themselves, to grow themselves in the nutritious or from the nutritious fabric of their spiritual and cultural way. And those seasons of cultured growth and development, cultural grooming, cultural shaping, cultural nurturing, that time is observance time. That's what it is. Observance time is key time for that development and growth to take place, to bring forth the fullest maturation, the fullest flourishing, the fullest bountifulness of the African soul, our spiritual and cultural time. So just as there is the spring season, the summer season, the autumn season, the winter season, there are seasons within an annual cycle of spiritual and cultural life that allow the African soul to grow, fully grow, to maximum bountifulness. That's the importance of what in observance time is for African souls. It's time to cultivate, it's time to nurture, it's time that is African time at the profound and rooted level. Throughout the annual cycle, you will see the totality then of African life unfold, where each aspect or each portion of the African soul is nurtured, groomed, and shaped to make the whole person cultivation, whole person nurturing, whole person growth. And so observances for the African soul are key, are important at the core level. And it's important, if you can, do check out the previous videos that help to provide a background to what we're discussing here in this video. Now, it is also important to know that observances are not events. They're not. So just as a farmer will sow seeds, reap the harvest, plow the soil, those are activities, and those may happen or may not happen year on year, depending on conditions and circumstance. But the seasons continue. They always are. The summer season, the winter season, spring season, the autumn season. They still come to be. They still are. They still continue. So if the activity doesn't take place, the seasons don't actually stop. And that's also true for the spiritual and cultural observance cycles that are part of African life. So observance and event are not at the same level at all. The observance is core time that always is. And the events that celebrate the observance are outward expressions of that core time. So if the event happens, wonderful. If the event doesn't happen, that can also be wonderful, because the core always remains in living tact. It still lives. This is so important, because if we elevate the event to mean of the observance, then we reduce the profound substance of being the African spiritual and cultural fabric holds. And we ought not do that. So that's a very, very important note to hold on to and to resonate in the self, that we have a spiritual and cultural core with associated observance periods of time that are then celebrated through activities, events, gatherings of all kinds of descriptions, and rightly so, as an outward expression of that core. You can't go to an observance. You can't go to spring, you can't go to summer, you can't go to autumn or winter. They are seasons of living time. Likewise, the seasons of African spiritual and cultural living observance are not things that you can go to. It's not a phenomena to go to. You can't go to the history season. It's that time of year. It just is the African history season. You can go to an event that celebrates African history, for example, and that's wonderful to do. But you can't go to the history season. That makes no spiritual and cultural sense. That's the significance of what observance time is. So African people must hold, surely must, hold their observances at the position, at the special place of being core substance or core period or core time or core season that it really is. And that's not in any way taking away from wonderful events that African people must have and continue to have. It's very important that we ingather, that we share communally oneness of spirit, however that is manifest, whether it be through learning, inspiration, entertainment, edutainment, whatever the case may be. But the event is not the observance. So with that, food for thought, and surely it is, until such time again, Kimunga Ukumbozi, Kimunga Ukumbozi, Kimunga Ukumbozi, divine liberty, divine liberation, divine freedom, and all that that will bring for African people wherever we happen to be on the face of this earth.